Did you know that Wolfgang Van Halen is not only the son of the legendary Eddie Van Halen, but also a talented musician on his own? From joining Van Halen at the age of 15 to his impressive solo career with Mammoth WVH, he has proven that he is more than just living in his father's shadow. But how has Wolfgang managed to stand out amidst such a great legacy? Check out his inspiring journey in this video. Childhood and family. Wolfgang William Van Halen was born on March 16, 1991, in Santa Monica, California, into a family that had a profound impact on the world of rock music. His father, Eddie Van Halen, was the founder and lead guitarist of the legendary band Van Halen, one of the most successful rock bands of all time. His mother, Valerie Bertinelli, is a famous actress who won a Golden Globe for her role in the television series One Day at a Time. From an early age, Wolfgang was exposed to music in a way that few children have. Unlike normal children who grew up listening to music on the radio or TV, young Wolfgang lived among Van Halen's rehearsals and epic tours. When he was just 3 years old, Wolfgang had his first memories of watching his father practice with the band in their home studio. Interestingly, his name Wolfgang was named after the genius composer Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. Eddie Van Halen, a classical artist, always admired Mozart and wanted his son to have a name that reflected musical greatness. This is also a sign of Eddie's expectations for his son, although he never forced Wolfgang to pursue a musical career. No one can deny that Wolfgang grew up in an inspiring environment. Although his parents divorced in 2007, both Eddie and Valerie loved their son wholeheartedly, and Eddie always took Wolfgang on tour. Wolfgang's exposure to music came naturally. As a child, he not only watched his father perform, but also especially experienced the world of rock. An interesting story is that in 2004, when Van Halen went on a reunion tour with singer Sammy Hagar, then 13-year-old Wolfgang sat in the sound control room to help supervise the band's technical side. This gave him an inside look at how a rock band operates professionally. Although his father was a guitar legend, Wolfgang started his musical career on drums. When he was just 9 years old, he received a drum set as a Christmas gift and quickly mastered the instrument. However, just a few years later, Wolfgang started playing bass, partly because he wanted to be different from his father, and partly because he felt attracted to the powerful, low sound of the instrument. But Wolfgang's talents didn't stop there. After mastering the bass, he went on to learn guitar and keyboards and even recorded his demos. Eddie Van Halen once said in an interview, "I never forced my hit into music, but he was a natural. He could hear a piece of music and immediately reproduce it on any instrument he wanted. It was amazing." Thanks to his early exposure to music and his natural talent, Wolfgang not only mastered many instruments, but also developed a great sense of music. Instead of just learning from books, he learned by listening and feeling, which helped him become a real musician when he was just a teenager. With such a foundation, it was no surprise that Wolfgang Van Halen soon stepped onto the professional path and became an important part of Van Halen at the age of 15. But the journey was not easy, because he not only carried the Van Halen name, but also had to prove that his talent was not based solely on his father's reputation. Career with Van Halen. In 2006, Wolfgang Van Halen shocked the rock scene when he officially joined Van Halen at the age of 15, replacing Michael Anthony, the band's original bassist. This was a controversial decision, as Michael Anthony was a key member of Van Halen, not only as a bassist, but also contributing to the band's signature harmonies. Wolfgang replacing such a veteran member made many people skeptical, thinking that he was simply accepted into the band because he was Eddie Van Halen's son. However, Eddie defended his decision, asserting he plays better than anyone else. He has a sense of music and brings a new energy to the band. Wolfgang did more than just play bass. He brought freshness and creativity to Van Halen. A versatile musician, he not only played music, but also had a deep understanding of musical structure, helping to shape the band's later sound. Despite initial skepticism, Wolfgang quickly proved his true talent. In 2012, Van Halen released A Different Kind of Truth, the band's first album in 14 years and the first to feature Wolfgang. Wolfgang not only took on the role of bassist, but also had a significant role in the production process. He was the one who helped select several songs from Van Halen's old demos, reworking and perfecting them for inclusion on the album. A Different Kind of Truth received positive reviews, with many praising Wolfgang's freshness and power. Following the album's success, Van Halen embarked on a series of world tours, with Wolfgang playing bass alongside his father. These tours were not only an opportunity for him to prove his talent, but also a valuable time for him to play music with Eddie Van Halen. Notably, Wolfgang was not only a member of the band, but also involved in many other aspects of Van Halen. He was the one who directly worked with the sound technician to ensure a sharper and stronger bass sound, helping Van Halen continue to maintain its position in the rock music industry. Despite his successful career with Van Halen, the most important thing for Wolfgang was always his family and his father. When Eddie Van Halen was diagnosed with throat cancer, Wolfgang was always by his side. Over the years, he not only supported his father in performances, but also helped him fight the disease, spending time with Eddie even when the band was on hiatus. One of the most memorable moments was in 2015, when Van Halen performed its last tour. Wolfgang spent the entire tour playing music with his father, knowing that Eddie's time with him was running out. It was more than just a tour, it was about precious moments between father and son, something Wolfgang would always cherish. In 2020, Eddie Van Halen passed away after a long battle with cancer. Wolfgang was the one who officially confirmed the news on social media, with an emotional status. "I can't believe I'm writing this, but my father, Edward Lodewijk Van Halen, passed away this morning after a long battle with cancer. He was the best father I could ever ask for. Every moment with him was a precious gift." After Eddie's passing, many fans expected Wolfgang to continue the Van Halen legacy. However, he insisted that the band could not continue without Eddie, as Van Halen was not just a band, but also the soul of his father. Despite leaving Van Halen, Wolfgang did not give up music. Instead, he embarked on a new journey, building a solo career with the Mammoth WVH project, a major turning point in his life. Solo career, Mammoth WVH. After Eddie Van Halen passed away in 2020, Wolfgang faced a big question. Would he continue to make music? For many, Wolfgang could easily live up to his father's reputation, inherit the Van Halen legacy, or join another famous rock band. But he chose a different path, building a solo career from scratch. In 2021, Wolfgang officially launched his personal music project called Mammoth WVH, short for Wolfgang Van Halen. This name is no coincidence, but the first name of the band, Van Halen, before it became famous, Mammoth. This is Wolfgang's way of honoring his father, but also wanting to create his own identity. The most special thing is that Wolfgang is not only the founder of Mammoth WVH, but also composed, played all the instruments, and produced the entire debut album himself. This is not easy, especially for someone who has just lost his father and greatest mentor. However, Wolfgang wants to prove that he is more than just Eddie Van Halen's son. He is a true, independent artist. His debut album, Mammoth WVH, released on June 11, 2021, received much praise from critics and audiences. On the album, Wolfgang showed a variety of styles, combining classic rock, alternative rock, and hard rock, creating a powerful but emotional sound. One of the highlights of the album is the song Distance, a song Wolfgang wrote in memory of his father, Eddie Van Halen. The song was written before Eddie passed away, but Wolfgang decided to complete it immediately after losing his father. The lyrics are full of emotion, expressing the boundless love Wolfgang has for Eddie. In particular, the music video for the song also includes never-before-seen home videos, capturing happy moments between father and son over the years. When Distance was released, Wolfgang emotionally shared, "This is not a song I wrote to make everyone sad. I want my father to be remembered as a great father, not just a guitar legend." Immediately, Distance created a strong resonance, reaching #1 on the Billboard mainstream rock chart, proving that Wolfgang did not just rely on his father's reputation, but truly had talent and the ability to connect with the audience. After the success of his debut album, Wolfgang continued to conquer the rock music scene with remarkable achievements. In 2022, he received a Grammy nomination for Best New Rock Artist, a big step forward for his solo career. Wolfgang had the opportunity to perform with Guns N' Roses and Metallica, two legendary rock bands. This is not easy for any artist, especially a new solo artist like Wolfgang, participating in many major rock festivals, attracting thousands of audiences to watch and support his music. These successes not only prove Wolfgang's talent, but also show that he is capable of building his career without depending on the legacy of Van Halen. Not stopping there, Wolfgang continued his journey with his second album, Mammoth 2, released on August 4, 2023. This album continues to affirm Wolfgang's style with a more mature, diverse, and powerful sound. While the first album still had many traces of loss, Mammoth 2 showed Wolfgang's progress and independence as a true artist. He was no longer compared to Eddie Van Halen, but was recognized as a musician with his personality. With consecutive successes, Wolfgang Van Halen proved that he was not just Eddie Van Halen's son, but a true artist with a promising career of his own. Right from the start of his solo career, Wolfgang Van Halen made a decision that surprised and controversial many people. He refused to play Van Halen songs on stage. What was the reason? Musical perspective. As the only son of Eddie Van Halen, one of the greatest guitar legends of all time, Wolfgang could certainly take advantage of his father's musical legacy to attract fans. Just by performing a few classic songs like Jump, Panama, or Eruption, he could easily fill the stadium and excite the crowd. However, Wolfgang did not do that. He was determined not to perform Van Halen's Music when performing live, even though he knew that this could upset some of the band's loyal fans. In an interview, Wolfgang frankly shared, "I am not the second Eddie Van Halen. I am who I am. I want to be recognized for what I do, not because I am Eddie's son." This decision was not only a personal statement, but also a clear expression of Wolfgang's musical vision. He wanted to build his career with compositions and musical styles that were not dependent on the Van Halen legacy. If he played his father's music on stage, Wolfgang knew that he would forever be compared to Eddie Van Halen, a shadow too large for anyone to overcome. Instead, Wolfgang focused on the Mammoth WVH project, writing his songs, playing all the instruments, and shaping his unique sound. This made him not just Eddie Van Halen's son, but a true artist with a distinct mark on the rock scene. Although he did not play Van Halen's Music on stage, Wolfgang still cherished his father's musical legacy. He has always maintained that Van Halen was an important part of his life, and he is extremely proud of what his father and the band have achieved. "I love Van Halen's music. I grew up with it. But I think the legacy of Van Halen needs to be respected and preserved properly. I don't want to dilute it just for profit." Instead of performing Van Halen songs on stage, Wolfgang chose to honor his father through new music. The song Distance, released in 2021, is a testament to that. Without reenacting the past, Wolfgang was still able to make listeners feel the love and respect he had for his father. Of course, Wolfgang's decision did not please everyone. Some Van Halen fans criticized him for not continuing his father's legacy, arguing that he should have performed old songs to honor Eddie Van Halen. In the face of these reactions, Wolfgang remained firm. If you want to listen to Van Halen, you can listen to the original album. I don't want to be a tribute band to my father. I want to create something new. He also responded to a negative comment on social media. If you want to listen to Van Halen, there are hundreds of videos on YouTube. If you want to hear a new artist making his music, you can come and see me. This response shows Wolfgang's clear thinking and confidence. He doesn't try to please everyone. He just wants to do what he truly believes in and is passionate about. Despite the controversy, Wolfgang Van Halen remains steadfast in his path. He refuses to rely on his father's legacy for fame, but instead affirms himself through his talent and music. Not playing Van Halen on stage doesn't mean he doesn't respect the past. It's about creating a future that's not just Eddie Van Halen's son. And with all the success he's achieved, Wolfgang Van Halen is slowly proving that he deserves his place in the rock scene. Behind the spotlight, what is Wolfgang Van Halen like in real life? Who are the most important people to him? And why does he always keep his private life private? Let's explore the hidden corners of this talented artist's personal life. Family and personal life. Wolfgang Van Halen has an extremely close relationship with his mother, actress Valerie Bertinelli. After divorcing Eddie Van Halen in 2007, Valerie continued to play an important role in Wolfgang's life, not only as a mother, but also as his companion and biggest supporter. Valerie has always been proud of Wolfgang and has not hesitated to show it in public. When Wolfgang released his first solo album with Mammoth WVH in 2021, she could not hide her emotions and often shared on social media about her son's success. She once wrote on Twitter, "My son is an amazing artist. I couldn't be more proud of what he has achieved." Eddie is smiling from heaven. They have a very close relationship, always accompanying each other during important times. Valerie was also one of Wolfgang's strongest emotional supports during the time of grief after Eddie Van Halen passed away in 2020. In many interviews, Wolfgang shared that his mother helped him overcome the pain of losing his father, and that made him appreciate his family even more. Wolfgang Van Halen not only succeeded in his career, but also found true love with Andrea Alsop, a software engineer. The two were together for many years before officially getting engaged in July 2022. Andrea is not a public figure, but she has always quietly supported Wolfgang's career. During tours and important events, she often appeared by his side, but always kept her distance from the media. When Wolfgang shared the news of their engagement on Instagram, fans sent many blessings to the couple. In an interview, Wolfgang spoke respectfully about Andrea. "She is a wonderful person. She is always by my side, encouraging me and helping me stay strong in the most difficult times." Despite being the son of a music legend and having a famous life, Wolfgang chooses to keep his love private. He rarely shares too much about his love life and almost does not let the media interfere in his private life. In contrast to many artists in the entertainment industry, Wolfgang Van Halen is very private about his personal life. He rarely shares too much about his personal life, focusing only on his career and music. Wolfgang once expressed his discomfort with being too closely scrutinized by the media, especially when he was young. Growing up in a famous family, he understands the annoyance of being in the public eye. "I don't want my private life to be a topic for people to talk about. I just want to live and make music my way." Instead of appearing frequently in the press with sensational news, Wolfgang chose to focus on art, using music to express himself. Although pursuing an independent musical path, Wolfgang Van Halen always puts family first. His mother is an important companion. His girlfriend is a solid support. And even though his father is no longer around, Eddie Van Halen is still the biggest inspiration in Wolfgang's life. Despite his fame, Wolfgang does not let the spotlight affect his personal life. He chooses to live a simple life, avoids gossip, and always cherishes the loved ones around him. The legacy and future of Wolfgang Van Halen. Wolfgang Van Halen is not only the son of a legend, but he has also established himself as one of the most versatile artists of the new generation. With his ability to play many instruments and his creative musical thinking, he has contributed significantly to the development of modern rock. Wolfgang not only stayed true to the spirit of classic rock, but also blended modern elements to create a unique sound that cannot be confused with anyone else. This is clearly shown on the albums Mammoth WVH and Mammoth 2, where he combined traditional hard rock with more modern, catchy melodies while still maintaining emotional depth. Although he did not follow in his father's footsteps directly, Wolfgang still carried within him the same innovative and creative spirit that Eddie had. He used modern technology in music production, creating music that had a strong personal stamp.